Hello, everyone. This is episode 2 of the Webcomic Workup.
You forgot to do the intro thing.
Oh, fuck me. What was I even gonna fucking say for the intro?
Hi, I'm C.E.F. and I hate webcomics.
I forgot my own fucking name. I did. I do it every day. Okay, let's...
Well, everyone, that's C.E.F. They hate webcomics. I'm Lorem. I like drawing webcomics, and this is
Occasionally.
This is Webcomic Workup, where we talk about webcomics and stuff.
Yay!
Woo!
Today's webcomic is Suicide Noun, written by, I hope I don't butcher their name, Michelle Clift and Steven Zinner or Ziner. I don't know.
Considering the double N's, it's Zinner, probably.
Okay, awesome. I don't know how to pronounce words.
And that's just the biggest mood. But we were delightfully surprised with this one. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, I thought the first comic we'd get would be really bad, and it would make a great internet review, but no, it's actually really good.
Yeah, no, the worst comic we got was the 5th one. And we're
not gonna put that up yet.
We don't talk about that. But, dude, this one was just, I really quite liked it.
Yeah, so to give a basic plot summary, Suicide Noun is about this little, like, freshman in high school who has some issues, and his dad is dead, and his mom is an alcoholic, and
school
one
sucks.
day, yeah, school does suck, that's a mood, and one day he's just like, I'm gonna kill myself, really dark themes, and then he discovers he's immortal.
Yeah, we're not doing the story justice, but if we did the story justice and explaining it, you guys wouldn't have any reason to go check it out. But, like,
yeah.
Now, you guys should go check it out.
Yeah, you don't even have to finish, no. Do finish the review, please, we need the views. But, yeah, it's a very good comic. The creator has been very nice to me as well, so I'm kind of biased. So we're going to start it out with our general thoughts on it, as our notes that we wrote down while we were reading it. Yay! You want to go first, Lorem?
Yeah, sure, I've got the shorter notes, but, I think we can both agree that the dialogue was, like, really, really snappy, really fluid. It was very organic. And
the writers have, they're very good at writing natural-sounding dialogue. It sounds like something out of a well-written TV show or film, and not out of, like, I don't know, something bad. But I do think there's a little bit too much of it. Like, there are pages where it's just dialogue after dialogue after dialogue after dialogue. Please calm down, I'm not reading a book. Dialogue after dialogue after dialogue.
Well,
and it gets to a point where, like, there are times when I kind of want to, like, skip over the dialogue, but I didn't, because I'm doing a review of it, but it kind of messes up with the pacing, and you know how I feel about slow pacing.
Yeah, definitely there are some times where it feels like too much dialogue, like it's 2 pages squished into one, but sometimes you need that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not as frequently as it happens.
Yeah.
On that note, I think that while it does get better through the course of the comic, the dialogue and the shots in the panels always feel a little crowded. Like, always zoomed in just a little bit too much. So,
yeah,
the author and the artist, when you guys are planning these shots, zoom out a little bit. Give your character to breathe and move. Let them wave their arms and kick their legs up in the air and do stupid positions.
And another trouble I have with the dialogue is that it's handwritten, which is great, except I cannot read it. It takes me a few takes to sometimes, not always, to see what they're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just always recommend for you to find either buy the rights to it, or to a font, or not rights, licensing. I can't speak. Or get a font that is allowed for independent comic use.
Yeah. There is, God, I wish I could remember the website. I think they changed it now, but I made my own handwriting into a font, and, like, I would use it for Signs of 3 if I didn't have dyslexic friends that I wanted to read the comic. And even still, I think Open Dyslexic is a free font that you can use, whatever, that's easy for dyslexic people to read. So, a better font for the dialogue. The handwriting is cute, very charming, but consider making it something that's a bit clearer, a bit more.
Yeah, that would also help with making it less squished, because fonts tend to be smaller and easier to contain than handwriting.
Yeah. A lot of the comic isn't meant to be funny, but there are a lot of tiny little details that just made me giggle while I was reading.
Yeah, well, the authors describe it as a dark comedy.
Oh, I missed that completely.
And I get that. It does have a lot of dark comedy in it, though I do think it's closer to a dark dramedy.
Oh my god, I'm never gonna get over the fact that that's a word.
Dramedy is a great word, and every story should be a dramedy.
It should have, like, sprinklings of it.
Yeah, but the humor is very funny.
Yeah. I'm looking at my notes. Okay, best part of this comic was the hook, honestly. Like,
oh god, yes.
Okay, I'm about to get IB English junior year up in here. So, in my English class, we learned about these things. They're called maxims, which are basically like key tropes to literature, the ones that you want to have. And one of them was called "Can this person be saved?" And it was like, you present a character, and then you kill them, or you have something terrible happen to them, and the whole book, the readers are trying to find out the why, the how, and the what of whatever terrible event it was. And as they get to know the character, the whole time they're thinking, man, that thing that happened at the beginning of the book can't be true. They can't die. I love them. And then it's the end, and there's just this gut-ripping feeling because, nope, they did. They fucking did, ladies and gentlemen.
That's my life. That's my friends looking at my life.
No! I really hope...
Wink, wink.
Really hope not.
I've been dead this entire time, Lorem. Time.
Oh no. But yeah, that curiosity about knowing the details of the terrible event that happens is what drives the story of Suicide Noun for the first 2 or 3 chapters.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna go into hooks a little bit later in the episode after our break. So, yeah. The hook is probably the best part. I agree with that. It's fan-fucking-tastic. It's an effective use of that type of hook, too, which is rare.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes you see that sort of thing happen, and then, it's so long before the payoff, where you find out the details of the terrible event, and it's like, yeah, okay, we found out. But the impact is just gone.
Mm-hmm. I have to say my favorite line, I put it in my notes for this exact reason, is, now I'll have to kill myself or she'll think I'm a pussy. That's just a fucking fantastic line. It's the funniest fucking thing I've ever read. I was sitting in my bed and I read that line and I was fucking laughing my ass off. The middle of the night. You don't usually laugh when you're reading things alone, but I did, and it was, oh my god, it was hilarious.
I was coming home from dinner when I was reading it, so I didn't take as detailed notes, but yeah, that's a pretty good line.
Yeah, it's just, that's exactly how freshmen talk. I know a lot of freshmen, and that's exactly how freshman boys talk. Realistic depiction of freshman boys? You should read it now.
Yeah. The character designs, man, they're so good. The art has a ways to go. Mm-hmm. But it's really good and really diverse, which is saying a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In art, there is the rule where you want all of your characters to have a different silhouette, and this definitely has that, and it makes it very easy to know what's going on, because I know which characters are which is always a good thing, but surprisingly less common in comics than you'd think.
Yeah, I will admit that my comic has less of that, because of how my style is. A lot of the silhouettes tend to look very similar, But I found that a way to get around that is how the characters hold themselves. Like if you have a very confident character, just make sure their posture is always confident. They always have their arms out. Have a particular gesture that they do that makes them noticeable. Also color.
Alternatively, I like to use hair, and it's not just because I like to give my characters giant fucking hairstyles, it's because it makes them look very separate from each other.
All of CEF's characters have 80s hair except Utterson. Can confirm.
Utterson will get 80s hair eventually. He did in the beginning. He did in the beginning, and then I redesigned him to make him easier to draw, and he lost his 80s hair. So, rest in peace, Utterson's 80s hair. Yeah, rest in peace. I feel so bad for him.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe it took me this long to click that hair was how you made your character's silhouettes different.
I mean, I also do, like, body shapes and stuff, but hair is, like, the major part, because it's so... Give Jekyll a Victorian-era mullet, and give Guest whatever Guest...
Guest looks like they've got a bush growing on their head, let's be honest.
They keep bread in there. That's actually canon. I haven't got around to, like, making Guests pull out bread out of their hair, but they do, in fact, keep rolls in their hair.
They should do it during the scene that they're at, like, because who they're talking to does not look like he's gonna give them food, so Guest just, like, sneaks out. And then the person they're talking to turns around and he's like, where the hell did you get that? And Guest is like, nowhere.
Guest just can make bread appear. Hyde's Men is actually a fantasy comic, except the only fantasy element in it is that Guest can, like, make bread appear.
You mean turning into tiny cats doesn't count as magic?
To change the subject, there are times when it seems, like, really cheesy. I don't really have any specifics in this, but especially when he's talking to... like, the other teenagers are talking, and when he's talking to the principal, Ethan, the main character, it's a little bit cheesy for my taste. It kind of seems like it's out of a bad teen movie, which is weird for this comic because most of the time all of the dialogue sounds natural and normal and not forced. It sounds like something a teenager would say or an adult would say.
It's like the interactions between, like, the principal and between the other teenagers are caricatures, while a lot of the other stuff is very real, very natural.
Yeah, the opposite. Not the opposite. The Jeremiah is, like, the only teenager thus far who talks like a teenager, other than Ethan, who also talks like a teen.
Yeah,
and that actually,
the girls seemed a little weird when they came in. Like, they had one character trait about them, and that was spoke. Like, there was nothing else. So, flesh them out. Let them.
Yeah.
So I remember when we were messaging about this while we were reading it, you mentioned that the pacing had some weird things.
Yeah, that mostly falls into dialogue. With comics, dialogue is the most major thing that controls pacing. Then it's like page design and the likes, and both of those things, especially early on, have some issues. I think it's most of the dialogue that messes the page design up, though. I am a giant fan of, you don't do down dialogue and then up dialogue. You do up dialogue and then down dialogue, because otherwise it's confusing and it slows the reading time down. And this comic does that a lot, especially again when he's talking to the principal.
Wait, what do you mean up versus down dialogue? I've never heard that terminology before.
Okay, so picture a comic page in your mind.
Got it.
The first panel, you want the dialogue to be up, and then you want the second panel, if it's on the right of that panel, to be down. You don't want to have to make the audience look back up, unless you're trying to guide their eyes to say, like, a character standing up, which that's not really happening.
Oh, you're talking about, like, placement in the panel.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. That makes a lot of sense, because the whole movement of the page generally is going down, so you want You want the speech bubbles to kind of be guiding that, and if not the speech, then the action of the characters.
Mm-hmm. You should like, it just makes it significantly easier to read and keeps the pacing from being incredibly slow if you do it left to right, up to down, and not left to right, up, down to up, or whatever.
That being said, manga artists, flip your rules.
Obviously.
Because you are reading right to left instead of left to right. So
yeah.
The idea is the same.
Mm-hmm.
So
to get back to what you said about characters, I actually have the problem with his mother. I love the trope of the overworked mom. It's one of my favorite things. I don't know why. I just love it a lot. And
I think it strikes a chord with you.
Yeah, that might say something about me, but thing is that she really only has this personality of alcoholic and vaguely sweet. I hope she gets fleshed out as the comic goes on, because there's just so much possibility for her, and I love her, and I love her design, and I would die for her.
She does seem like a good mom, and I hope she gets better as like a character. She doesn't need to get better as a person, but like as a character, I hope she gets developed.
Mm-hmm.
Part 2, we're going to be talking about what makes a good hook. What do to keep your reader invested? What keeps them reading?
Yep.
You start this one, since I started the first part.
Alright. Jesus Christ. Now I have to find my nose.
You got it.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to sound like I'm reading off a script. I found that hooks are, like, very fucking. I fucking hate hooks. I hate writing hooks. I hate fishing hooks. They suck. Hooks are annoying. So the hook has to have a few things to keep the story and the audience on board. You wanna raise like a few questions. In this case, the questions are: who are these people? Why is this getting recorded? Who's recording this? Why are they doing this? All good questions for your life, actually. By the time these questions are answered, the concept of immortality is up in the air, and that drives the story. The hook is a very simple hook. You see it a lot with, like, TV dramas, especially, like, law dramas. I watch too many of those. And this comic does it really well, despite the fact that this is a very simple, one-sided hook. Because a lot of the time... Say it again?
I would like to say about the immortality hook, even though that is what's driving the plot, there's not much else happening, and I feel like there needs to be something else.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong,
yeah, I think
immortality is cool, but they can't spend the next 8 chapters killing this kid over and over and over and over and over again.
Okay, that would be hilarious, though. That's how I write Heidsman. That's what I'm gonna do to guest.
Please, don't. But go on.
I will. Something that I've learned as a playwright is that writing is based on discoveries. Straight up, both the audience and characters are driven by discoveries and the questions that arise. Like, in example, we discover character A has a pet lion, not in this comic. I'm saying this as an example. Character B is aware of the lion, but it's a discovery for the audience and therefore it drives us. It'll drive us if that's like, why is character B so chill about a lion in his house? Perhaps we've seen earlier that all animals in the universe have died off, or that this lion is a rarity. Then it would be, how does this character have a lion? when the audience knows something that the character doesn't, it is harder to write well, but when it's done correctly, it's even more driving, and this is, like, my favorite one. Like, character B has been hiding a lion in their house. Their roommate, character B, doesn't know this. Character B gets into a fight with an anti-lion officer, I actually wrote that, and tells them that they're so certain that there's no lion in the house that the officer can check. We have discovered that there is a lion in the house, and that the officer might come upon the lion, and that character B doesn't know there is a lion. This raises questions like, what will character A do to explain to character B why there's a lion in the house? What happens if the officer finds the lion? What happens if the officer doesn't find the lion? All the while, character B could be asking, what will character A think when I tell them that I let an officer enter a house to look for lions? That's the weirdest sentence I've ever wrote.
It's entertaining to read, but this is, if I remember correctly, this is dramatic irony at its finest. I've had multiple English teachers tell me this, but irony is key. Like, sure, it's great comedy, but it's also just really good for writing. Because when audience knows things that the characters doesn't, it makes you want to see what's going to happen when things are discovered. It's a hook. And it's one of the most subtle hooks you can play.
Hooks are just a form of discovery and question that's very appealing. In the case of Suicide Noun, it drives the audience and not really the characters until we get to our secondary question about immortality.
Which is why can't he die?
God mood. A good single-sided hook like this one must have very high stakes to make it appealing. Death, believe it or not, is very high stakes.
Really? It's a high stakes thing?
I know.
Believe it.
It's so shocking. I thought, like, death was just, like, it's minor. It's okay.
I'm being very sarcastic.
I'm not, no.
If I can toot my own horn for a little bit here, there's a lot of small hooks and some very big ones in Signs of Three, and I, like, after analyzing them after this comic, I really like how they played out. So there's the initial hook of, like, it's small, it's kind of irrelevant. It's like, oh, you're not jumping straight into the mysteries. It's Watson needs to find somewhere to live or he's going to be broke, and you're worried about his dog. Like, what's going to happen if the dog doesn't have somewhere to live?
Watson must live in Portland.
But, that's the first hook, is he's got to find somewhere to live. And it only goes through, like, the first chapter that hook lasts, because by the end of the second chapter, you know for certain he is moving in with Sherlock Holmes, and then you're like, ooh, what mischief are they going to get up to? And then the next hook is, of course, murder.
My favorite, escalation. And to toot my own horn, because I like tooting my own horn. In my webcomic, Heidsman, I do a double-sided hook. Guest is confused as all hell why they're where they are, and why the fuck some afraid bastard just beat him up. Like, as you do. And then the audience is confused for those exact same reasons. And also why Guest looks like that. No. Bullying Guest is my favorite hobby. While I can't comment on the effectiveness of this hook as the writer, I can say that it is supposed, at least, to drive the audience with a few questions that are answered sooner, and then some that introduce the longer thematic questions that drive the audience to continue reading, and guests to continue guesting, for better and for worse, mostly for worse. I found for... Say it again?
You finish.
No. Go again, please.
Okay, I haven't introduced any of, like, the thematic questions yet, because we're still in the first mystery phase. The big plots haven't been introduced yet. And one of the one of the themes is going to get introduced within the next couple of pages that I'm working on.
Delicious.
And it's not even, like, an obvious thing. It's this subtle thing. Like, I'm just going to say it. Because by the time it comes out, this is going to be months in the future. But Sherlock says this throwaway line like, sane people don't just kill themselves. And then you see John Watson just kind of...
Oh, sweet Jesus.
You see
Sweet
him, like,
Jesus, sweet Jesus. Lorem, I'm gonna break your knees.
No, but you see him just kind of, like, wilt in the background. Like, oh, okay.
You can't see me, but I'm about to, like, die. Lorem is evil and such a good writer. I'm going to drive to their city and beat them up.
I am not evil. You're the evil one. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I'll take credit for being evil.
I've learned some things about their comic, and it just... Like, I'm going to destroy you someday.
If you get to give a vague spoiler, I get to give one too. Have you ever tried to kill your own brain?
Look, ladies and gentlemen, that is the hook for the next chapter of Hyde's Men, which you can check out in the description.
Not the next chapter, the next mega arc. So a few chapters. That's a few chapters away.
But there's the hook for you.
I found, at least for myself, by writing both episodic works and self-contained works like plays, that single-sided hooks are better for smaller, more contained stories like plays, with questions that answer themselves for the most part, other than like some thematic questions. And then after all these all the first starting questions, the hook questions are answered, it brings up more questions. Well, double-sided hooks are better for longer stories with more thematic and central dramatic questions alongside the shorter, who are these people and what the fuck are they doing? Questions that show up at the beginning and at every part of the story.
So here's the long and short of it, folks. A good hook for a short story is asking about the characters. It asks about setting. It asks about who, the what, the when. And then the good questions for longer works are the why. Who's big? That big why question.
Why?
And
I need to do an episode where I just can talk about central dramatic questions for 77 hours straight.
Well, if we'll do that eventually. But like optimally, even on a short story, you want your audience to be asking at the end of that why. But less, did the characters do this? More, why did the author write it?
If your writing doesn't have a purpose, then it isn't good writing.
Okay, that's BS.
No, every piece of art has a purpose, and if your writing doesn't have a purpose, it isn't art. It is just random text you put on a page.
Okay, I guess. But
Lorem's driving to my house as we speak now.
but what they're trying to say is that your art should have a purpose, but you don't need, and this is to you young writers who are just like, oh my god, my superhero story has no purpose. I'm not a real writer. Wrong. You are very much a writer. But your purpose might be less making people question their worldview, more making someone smile.
Or
this.
You have to like overanalyze your own work sometimes. I do it all the time. It's what I do for fun. But there's a high chance that if you're putting passion and care into your work, that you already have a purpose in there. You just don't realize it.
Yeah. Analyzing your works, you will definitely find themes. And themes, you'll see things that you believe in, like the things you believe in, you'll see those coming through in the writing, and those are themes.
And if you somehow don't have any passion or care for your work, episode 5 for 1, and 2, that's gonna be fun.
Let's just say it. Episode 5 is our rant special.
Then, yeah, how are you writing?
Yeah,
what's wrong with you?
Yeah. It's not writing, it's typing.
As long as you put passion into your work and love and care, and you have heart, and you put soul, and you are working for work's sake, or, well, art's sake, I guess. Don't work at, like, 7-Eleven for work's sake. work at it for money. my art project is 7-Eleven.
Put
You're gonna be
into
okay.
your work. Put passion into your work. And even if
Please do.
And even if it doesn't start out great, which, God, who's ever does start out right off the bat, but, like, put passion into it, and someone along the way, they will see that, and they will love it.
And your themes will come out, and who you are as a person will be reflected in your work. It will be amazing eventually if you keep working on it. Like, look at the fucking start of Hyde's Man. It is bad, but I love it, and I have hopefully developed it into something vaguely comprehensible.
You have.
I love this work. I love this strange furry comic.
And speaking of, like, themes coming through in your writing, you could tell H.P. Lovecraft was a massive racist just because of a lot of the stuff. So that being
Lauren
said,
just starts out with, H.P. Lovecraft was a racist.
So that being said, if someone comes to you and says, like, hey, your work is blah, 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 phobic, because blah, blah, blah reasons, maybe give them a listen, hear them out,
Yeah.
in case you might have done it on accident, and if you did it on purpose, boy.
Go fuck yourself. I'm a little bit more salty about it.
Unless that's the purpose, like you have deliberately homophobic or something characters, unless they are like, that is their point, they are bad.
I mean,
or something.
thematic, I don't think you can really, you make your themes homophobic, like, on purpose without it being because you're homophobic. That'd be a struggle.
Yeah.
My themes are, I hate gay people.
Oh my god. I'm sure someone's written that.
Oh god.
I do not want to read that. But before, this is going to turn into a whole other kind of conversation. It's not related to Suicide Noun at all.
Suicide Noun is really good and not homophobic.
It is a really wonderful comic, and you all should go read it and support the artist, because admittedly, it doesn't look like much at first, but God, is it growing, and I can't wait to see where it goes. So,
yeah, and please support the artist on Patreon if you have any extra money.
they have a Patreon?
They're making, yes, they do.
We're going to put a link for it in the description.
Yeah, there will. And they're only making $30 a month off of it, and they deserve so much more, because this is a great comic and it has so much potential, and it's just fantastic and wonderful. Please go read it.
And with that, I think we're finished. So,
woohoo! I still hate webcomics, except this one.
Go read Suicide Noun. Go check out Hyde's Men and Signs of Three. Shoot us an email if you're an up-and-coming webcomic artist who's got a story-based webcomic you want us to check out. We'll take a look at it. We'll see if we like it, and if we don't, we're probably gonna tear out a new one. Sorry.
But and if we can review it, we will.
We'll give.
Oh, nothing too non-safe for work though, because
please,
I'm a baby.
Please, like, admit it. Like, no shame to the people who do that kind of stuff, but we can't talk about that on a podcast. Come on.
I don't want to ruin my virgin eyes. Okay, this has been a really weird ending. Good night, everyone.
See you guys.